Salutations and praise the table. This is another mock review by Anaru, and you'll have to excuse my tardiness. I'd been participating in the Bio Cup as of late, and I had also misplaced my camera, so I had reasons. Unlike some. But anyway, this is GENJU-MEN. He's a mock that's inspired by actually two video game characters, not just Genji, as you would, as most seem to get immediatch. It's pretty easy to see the resemblance there. But there's another slightly more obscure character he's based on, which actually I put a little more of him into GENJU-MEN here, which is Hakumen from the video game BlazBlue.
我は空、我は光、我は純、我は一振りの剣にて全ての罪を刈り取り、悪を滅する。我が名は白面、押してまいる。
Not very good at that game, but it has really cool characters. So, yeah, Hakumen is really freaking boss, and so a lot of that leaks into GENJU-MEN. And there's not a whole lot to this guy. He's just kind of the ultimate cyborg ninja samurai tush kicker. Anyway, I'd promised to do a how-to on the head, so I figured let's get that out of the way so those of you here who are just here for that don't have to wait for anything else. Wait through anything else. Anyway, jump cut. Alright, so the head is constructed out of what you see here. Plus a few bits I have pre-constructed, but that's just mirroring. So, first thing we want to do is start on the base of the head with this little Technic mumbo-jumbo. This piece in the middle here is entirely optional, this little pin here. I just have it in there to fill up a bit of space, but that's not too important. So we want to grab some of this Technic and just put it together like so. I'm not too good at how-tos. I'm no Dr. Scorpion X for sure. But yeah, this is the gist of it. Now we just want to take this bit and stick it through there. Now we want this through here, stuck on the short end. And let's see. Wow, that right there. This piece is actually just fill, it doesn't actually hold on to anything, but yeah. Then, this face plate that I have custom painted will go right here. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the base of the head. Next, we want this little battle droid torso, and we're just gonna stick it right in, yeah, this way. And so that fills up a bit of space, as well as holding on to this bit of system, which is going to hold on to this dish, which, you know, fills up that nice bit of space, and also holds on to these bricks. And I believe, yeah, we want to connect the dish to this first little subcircle on the brick. Then we want this little slope here, right there, and then this little claw tooth thing. And we just sort of mirror that on the other side with this assembly. Just sort of get that on there. It's a little hard to build looking through a camera, by the way. Don't try this at home, or do, whatever. And we've got business. Oh.
All around me are familiar.
Gee Willikers, I connected this wrong. There we go. So that is that.
All around me are
We're just gonna show you how to connect it to the head now, which is, oh crap, everything's falling apart. Jump cut! Anyway, with that out of the way, we can connect this head to the body here. With this just little ball joint on a Hero Factory thing. And so actually, yeah, that whole head is connected to the body by a bar and not an axle, which is pretty weird for me. And then we just sort of take these tubes and thread them back inside the back of his head, because I am super heretical. Illegal connections are my jam. So yeah, that's how you can tell his head is pretty fragile. That's how you construct GENJU-MEN's head. Anyway, moving on. So we're gonna start off the review with these feet here, these protector feet that are quite heavily modified, and I'm sure you've seen this exact modification done before. It's pretty popular because it works. It's really, really cool looking. You got posable toes, you got extensions in the back to keep the mock from falling over, and overall it just looks really, really cool. Kind of animalistic in a way, because the toes are like, you know, individual, but like they're super blocky too, so it's kind of like controlled in a way. But like, you know, what else do I say about these? Oh yeah, they are inspired by Hakumen's feet a lot more than Genji's feet, because, you know, Hakumen's pretty cool. He's got these pretty iconic looking, no, not iconic, but like, they're interesting. His feet are interesting, because he's like wearing these typical cyber samurai boot looking things, but like, they have claws on the end, and they're way sharper than they are here, but that's a pretty good representation. And you know, I'm only willing to take so much inspiration before certain things start looking better than others. But like, anyway, let's move on to these plastic shins. And I've got to say right now, these the only custom limb on the mock, which is actually saying something, because this mock looks really, really custom. They're really, really solid and sturdy. I just love these Mata hands, these double Mata hands. It's using up 2 ball joints there, which is quite a heavy parts usage in my department. And it's just really, really stable and cool looking. It's really meaty and just powerful. Anyway, we've got this Robo Rider's armor on the front, which is useful as ever. Really hard to use, but really looks really good when you use it. So that's a thing. And yeah, the whole thing is built off of these Mata hands and this Clitorian neck. It's just sort of all connected wibbly-wobbly from there. Something weird about this leg is the knee, because this armor does not turn with the leg when it bends, which is strange. And then, like, something else that's weird, if I just zoom out a little bit, is that the whole leg swivels. because it's on a handpiece, one of those hand Technic connector pieces, and that's holding the two ball joints, and then like it doesn't it can't actually weeble wobble this way too much, so that's good. And it doesn't wobble at all this way, which is just a little extension of how far the leg can bend, which is something a bit farther than 90 degrees, which is nice. So yeah, that's about all I can say about the shins. So let's get on up to these hips, which are pretty nice. They're actually just, you know, basic HF bones. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head what length they are. So I've got this Hero Factory armor 2.0, and then I've got this Anika armor, and they sort of blend well together. Holy crap, that looks pretty good. Although there is a bit more volume on this side than on this side, which is strange. But that's that gets mostly covered up when his dual swords are sheathed on his hips, which looks pretty nice. So I gotta say, these two pieces of armor, they're not connected directly to the hips at all, which is weird. They're both connected to these weird axle pieces, and then they're just sort of like frictioned on, and it's impossible to get them off, which is good. But yeah, they're not like, this is probably not a legal connection. Probably. But yeah, so that's just about all there is to say about the hips. There's a little bit of system in there to fill up the gaps too, which is nice. So up to this pelvis here, we got Fantaka armor here, and that's connected to a freaking this is a base Star Wars torso. So yeah, this is not the first thing you'd expect this mock to be made of. But yeah, the very base of GENJU-MEN is a Star Wars torso. And it's a lot better, I'd say, than the Uniter torso, because it doesn't have that stupid gear gimmick that makes their torso way too tall and unappealing, frankly. So yeah, it's pretty much better in every way than the Uniter torso. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. Not the best armor coverage I could have had, but yeah, I have this little hand connector piece here, and it was broken, so I sawed off the fingers, whatever. And yeah, it fills up the gaps quite nicely, and so that's there. Little bit of rubber bands on the joints to cover up stick figurosity, and that's just about it. Yeah, just a single HF shell there, and yeah. Up here we got this Nuva armor, which sticks out quite a bit actually. But the rest of the mock is masculine enough to cover for that, so you probably won't get any confusion, I hope. I know I don't, so there's that. And then underneath we have these Borak eyes that fill up the gaps quite nicely, cover up these more stick-outy pieces of the Star Wars torso, which I don't like as much, but it's still good. And then building off of that is a whole bunch of custom mumbo-jumbo, and this Uniter piece on the back, which actually holds his sword. Pretty nice. when Mox can actually sheathe their weapons on their person. And yeah, just a bunch of Technic mumbo-jumbo holding this together. Now, something to mention about this Nuva armor here is it sticks out quite a bit, and you'd think that would make this Mach look feminine, but it really doesn't. Like, there's enough other masculine traits like his shoulder length and arm size. There's enough other masculine traits that sort of balance it out and actually cancel it out. So yeah. Something else about this Nuva armor and these pipes by extension is that, you know how those pipes aren't actually connected to anything inside his head? Well, I have something to confess. The heresy doesn't end there. So, that's, you can see a little bit of how the torso is constructed here, too. If you just pay attention. I'm sure you can figure it out if you wanted to. Anyway, yeah, just slip that under there, and there. All is as it should be. So, yeah, these arms, nothing to write home about. Just a little bit of plate coverage there on his forearm. His hands are a little bit more interesting. They're, you know, kind of just the standard Exoforce fingers. And he's got claws because Hakumen has claws. He's got, on both his hands actually, he's got these connector bits. And those are meant to help him hold the weapons, because they can just go right in there, and then the fingers can wrap around it. The fingers don't actually have to do any heavy lifting, and it's good. So yeah. And that's two of his weapons. These right here. Yeah. Shouldn't leave this. And then something else interesting about these weapons is that they go on his hips down here, and it's pretty cool because they fill up that extra sort of bulk that sort of just went flat with that 2.0 back armor, and so it's pretty nice. Got a nice bit of storage. Everything on the Mach can be stored on the Mach. Nothing has to go elsewhere if he's not, like, using them. Which is cool. And, that brings me to his final weapon, which is this massive freaking brick-built sword. It's kind of disgusting, honestly. So yeah, that's pretty much mostly Hakumen's sword, with a guard, an actual guard, this time. It's massive dai katana type of... What was, oh, Zanbato. Yeah, that was probably the name of the huge, massive, not real at all, two-handed katana. So yeah. Probably, you know, since Genji has katana too, but, you know, it all sort of just bleeds together with this, which is pretty nice. And it can go on his back, either here or here. I kind of prefer here because there's a little bit more room to grab the weapon, and it's a little further away from the ground on the middle here. Just doesn't stay as well. And then it's got this bit of connection here with his hand, and we can stick it right there. Just wrap his fingers around it, and we're in business. And it's pretty great. freaking fragile head. So yeah, despite not being well suited for posing with them, I am rather partial to mocks that have two-handed weapons for some reason. Yeah. So that is GENJU-MEN's sword, and it is freaking massive and stupid looking because of the bricks, but, you know, I don't know what else to make this out of and still get the same size. I've tried other stuff, but it really doesn't really work that well. So, let me just, you know, I did a tutorial on the head, but I haven't really talked about the head. And this head is a good fusion, a pretty good fusion between Hakumen and Genji, because it's got the side bits that Hakumen has, these little horn things that sort of come off of his ears, and he's got the white faceplate. Hakumen's faceplate is a pure white. There is no way he could see through it, which is really weird. The explanation is equally weird to how he can see, but we won't get into that. The Genji part is obvious, pretty obvious. The green visor that leaks through, which is pretty cool. And that is, oh yeah, there's one other thing. His head has an extra degree of posability because his neck has two joints, so he can sort of gawk forward and, like, gasp backward, and it's pretty cool. And he has a lot of mobility that way. Lots of expression there. So I think that just about covers GENJU-MEN. I hope it was worth the wait. Probably not. But anyway, that's been GENJU-MEN. Bye-bye.